John Brennan is just a bad person. He was the director of the CIA under Barack Obama. He's been implicated in a lot of things that he's never actually had to pay a penalty for. For instance, he lied to the Senate multiple times under oath during the Obama era. He actually was caught spying on members of the Senate Intelligence Committee. That's when Democrats were in the majority in the Senate during Barack Obama's reign. They didn't do anything to him because, they're all part of the club. Back in the 80s, he voted for the Communist Party candidate for president because he couldn't decide between Reagan and Carter. He literally voted for a communist. Look it up. And then he was elevated to the level of director of the CIA. And as we know, his fingers are all over the slimy, despicable, deep state crime known as Russian collusion and the setup of Trump and his administration and his campaign and a whole lot of innocent people. Well, somehow he's still walking around a free man. And for some reason, he has the arrogance, the hubris to actually go to these DC roundtable panel discussions as an expert. And, well, he opens himself up to be asked a question on the open mic. And I assure you, the only reason he showed up at this thing at George Mason University last Thursday was because he was sure that inside the Beltway, he was protected. I mean, none of those MAGA types are around here. No one's going to ask me a tough question. Well, and that's where he was wrong. Watch his reaction when he's asked a simple question about his participation in the Russian collusion hoax.
I was at the DNI when the first ICA was released regarding cyber influence on the 2016 election. I was there. I was working in the NIM. I read it. I also was involved in setting up the principals committee meeting that took place in December that resulted in President Obama directing a more fulsome, because I understand the difference between a cyber ICA and a total whole of government ICA intelligence collection on Russian involvement or influence in the election. And I noticed immediately in the ICA, the second ICA, because I had access to the classified ICA, that there were statements in that ICA that were not supported with the sourcing that was associated to the ICA, specifically that Putin had directed the action and that Putin had, that the Russians were actively trying to support President Trump instead of just sow chaos.
Your question.
My question. There was an email that went around from General Clapper to yourself and Hayden. I'm sorry, not Hayden.
That's right.
Yourself and Comey, etc., that basically said we all got to get on board with this, otherwise it isn't going to work, basically. And I think that email puts everybody in the crosshairs. I would like to hear what your justification was for supporting the dossier that was known to be false being used as source material in the second ICA.
All right, so a couple of things here, and we're going to let you see his response because it's Looney Tunes. I just want to give you a little more background here. The person asking that question, a gentleman named Thomas Speciale. He's actually a national security expert. As you heard, he was working in the office of the Director of National Intelligence. That was James Clapper under Barack Obama. That's the position that Tulsi Gabbard holds now. By the way, he was also the Republican candidate for Senate in Virginia back in 2020, running against Mark Warner. And here's an interesting side note. Abigail Spanberger, the woman who's running for governor right now, former CIA person herself and a congressman, her campaign staff back in 2020 defamed this guy, Thomas Speciale, said that he led a armed insurrection on Capitol Hill and made up all these lies about him on January 6th, trying to submarine his campaign there in 2020, that fall. And it worked, of course. But the interesting thing here is that, or excuse me, it was after the election, but they were still trying to defame him so he wouldn't run for office again. That's actually an ongoing defamation lawsuit right now that Abigail Spanberger's campaign was involved with and is defending themselves with. So back to John Brennan. Watch his response to that very simple question about this memo where John Brennan, when other people in charge of various aspects of the intelligence community apparatus under Barack Obama expressed reservations about using the Steele dossier, Brennan said, well, we all got to be on board on this. Tried to bully him, tried to, strong arm him. And would John Brennan bully people? Yeah, well, you'll see another video from this same event, and that'll answer your question. Here's Brennan's response. You tell me if you see an answer here.
I don't know who put you up to this.
Nobody put me up to this, sir. I'm here on my own.
What role you played or who you are, but it's a bunch of bullshit that you just passed on.
The emails are clear, sir.
Bullshit.
The emails are clear.
Bullshit.
The emails are clear. The second question
No, I think we're going to go.
is the
Look, you can look. We can talk about it. Talk about it in the reception.
Russian disinformation.
No, we didn't say that. Get the facts
You
straight.
said it was likely Russian disinformation.
No, we did not. We said
Yes,
it.
you did.
No.
In that memo,
Read the
it says
letter.
that
I'm
you
ignoring it.
signed it.
Okay.
And I know I'm going to get uninvited
Yeah.
to the after hours.
No,
Nobody
no,
put me up to this.
you're
I'm
done.
on my own.
Come on. All right, we're going to go over here.
This is disinformation.
Let's go over here for a
I'll be
question.
able to answer the question.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
There's the answer. The answer to the question is, I don't know who put you up to this or what your role is, but everything you said was bullshit. And then the MC of the panel just says, next. His second question had to do with the Hunter Biden laptop. He shouted it off mic. You didn't hear it. And you saw John Brennan. He was about to respond and say, hey, I never said it was Russian disinformation. And then he stopped himself. And then he said, I'm just going to ignore you. You see, look at how uncomfortable he was. You see how Looney Tunes that reaction was? In a moment when he didn't know he was being recorded, he actually gave his full answer to this person, Thomas Speciale. You're going to see that candid video in a second. But I just want you to know the reason that he stopped himself just now, the reason why he didn't give an actual answer there, and the only thing he said was that it's bullshit. It's bullshit. I'll tell you why. Because, Mr. Brennan, everything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. See, the clock's ticking on this guy. He knows that the crosshairs are on him. Comey's already been indicted. Anything he says publicly now can be held against him. And if he continues to obstruct and give disinformation and lie and perjure himself, whether it's under oath or in a forum like this, well, that sort of extends the statute of limitation on these things. That's why when he does a cable news response, he says, oh, I won't even dignify that with a response. It's because any response he gives is, well, triggering to the legal process. All right. Now, a little background here. And trust me, there's an even more volatile video coming up here where he gets in this guy's face and tries to bully him and push him. It didn't work well, but I'll show you. Here it was. This was at a campus of George Mason University. This room in particular is in Arlington, Virginia, just outside Washington, D.C., just across the river. That's Brennan on your right. The second person to the left was General Michael Hayden. He was also CIA director. He's also kind of a scum as well. It's funny how these people who get in charge of the CIA end up being horrible, horrible human beings. The panel discussion was called The Directors, and it was all former CIA directors or directors of national intelligence talking about the intelligence community. And he never expected to have a confrontation like that. He never expected to have to answer an actual question to hold himself accountable for his lies. And they are lies, I assure you. The memo that Mr. Speciale was asking about, this is the actual memo. We know about it because DNI Tulsi Gabbard has released these memos with some redactions, but this is pretty clear. This is a memo chain between the top principals in Obama's intelligence community apparatus. This is in December of 2016. It's after Trump won the election and Obama ordered Clapper, who was DNI, Brennan, who you just saw was CIA director, Comey, the FBI director, and all of his top DNA folks, or excuse me, intelligence folks, to come up with a report that said Putin successfully interfered with the election, and he did it because he wanted to help Donald Trump. Now, we've already been through this. We've got plenty of videos on this channel if you want to look for them that explode the fact that these newly released emails showed that that was all garbage. And even more importantly, John Brennan decided that the only way he could do Barack Obama's bidding was to use the Steele dossier, which everybody in the intelligence community at that time, and certainly now, knew was garbage. They knew that the Steele dossier was a pile of steaming crap. So you can't read that email, but thankfully, the office of Tulsi Gabbard has actually put out clear descriptions of what these emails say. Here's the first one. It's from the director of the NSA, Mike Rogers. He's an admiral in the Navy at this time. He's kind of got a higher calling because he's military, and he seems to be a good man. He sent this email to DNI James Clapper. He said, I just returned from a TDY overseas and have been updated on the current status of our efforts to produce a joint product related to Russian attribution and intent for the DNC DCC hacks. These were the hacks that were purportedly done by the Russians of the Democrat National Committee. I know that this activity is on a fast track. Yeah, remember that fast track, because I'll explain to you why it was so important that they got this done fast. Everybody says that they were on a fast track because they wanted to get it done before Trump got inaugurated. That's not the case. I'll explain what the fast track was in a second. However, I wanted to reach out to you directly to let you know of some concerns I have with what I'm hearing from my folks. Specifically, I asked my team if they had sufficient access to the underlying intelligence and sufficient time to review the intelligence. On both points, my team raised concerns. Understand something. The bulk of his team at the NSA, they're military. They're not civilian. They're not contractors. They're not political hacks. They're career military intelligence, surveillance, cyber war professionals. They didn't like this thing, right? They were clear that at the staff level, folks have been forward-leaning and trying to ensure that we have an opportunity to review and weigh in. But I'm concerned that given the expedited nature of this activity, my folks are fully comfortable saying that they've had enough time to review all the intelligence to be absolutely confident in their assessments. I'm not saying that we disagree substantively. He's trying to be political here. But I do want to make sure that when we're asked in the future whether we can absolutely stand behind the paper, that we don't have any reason to hesitate because of the process. I know that you agree that this is something we need to be 100% comfortable with before we present it to the president. That was Obama at the time. We have one chance to get this right, and it's critical that we do so. If the intent is to create an integrated product that the CIA, FBI, NSA jointly authored, that we can all defend, we need a process that allows us to be comfortable. And I'm concerned we're not there yet. In addition, if NSA is intended to be co-author of this product, I personally expect to see even the most sensitive evidence related to the conclusion. The email said, though, if the intent is to create CIA only or CIA FBI authored product, then I'll stand down on these concerns. Understand what's saying. It's like, hey, don't put my name and my agency on this thing if I'm not even going to have a chance to look at all the intelligence, and I don't want to be rushed into this. What's the rush? What's the rush? Everyone thinks it was for the inauguration. No, the rush was the certification in Congress. The rush was the Electoral College vote. That's why they were rushing this thing. This is dated December 22nd. They're like, let's go. We got 2 weeks. We got to get this done. It was because they were trying to get in front of Trump even being elected by the Electoral College in Congress. The pressure was put on Republicans at the time to back out and change their votes and object to Donald Trump. They were trying to show that he had stolen the election. Look at the timeline. That's what this was really all about. It was the first coup. These are the people, of course, who are very upset about January 6th. James Clapper, the director of national intelligence, responded to the admiral, Admiral Rogers, and said, I understand your concern, but it's essential that we, CIA, NSI, FBI, ODNI, be on the same page and are all supportive of the report in the highest tradition of that's our story and we're sticking to it. Isn't that nice? That's our story and we're sticking to it, is what people say when they're lying. When evidence comes up to show that the story is false, what do you say? Hey, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. He literally put that in an email. We'll facilitate as much mutual transparency as possible as we complete the report, but more time is not negotiable. We may have to compromise on our normal modalities since we must do this on such a compressed schedule. This is one project that has to be a team sport. Everyone's got to be on the team. Everyone's going to be on board. See, that's the memo that John Brennan was asked about. That's the memo that John Brennan reacted like this to when he was pressed on it.
etc., that basically said we all got to get on board with this, otherwise it isn't going to work, basically. And I think that email puts everybody in the crosshairs. I would like to hear what your justification was for supporting the dossier that was known to be false being used as source material in the second ICA.
I don't know who put you up to this.
Nobody put me up to this, sir. I'm here on my
I don't know
own.
what role you played or who you are, but there's a bunch of bullshit that you.
There's John Brennan. Now, I just read you the email. Did it sound like BS to you? Of course not. So then afterwards, John Brennan, as he was heading to a VIP reception, Mr. Special, who's the gentleman with the clean-shaven head there on the left, he tried to track John Brennan down, see, and say, hey, you just said that you didn't say the Hunter Biden laptop was disinformation, but you signed on to it, right? You were one of the 51 intelligence agents. Watch how John Brennan reacts when confronted afterwards. Why? And again, he doesn't know he's being recorded here, right? Again, Mr. Brennan, everything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law.
Why when people have on the Hunter Biden? Why? Because and you misrepresented that. We never said it was disinformation. We said it was Russian influence operations, which is what they do. There's a big difference between influence operations. No, you don't know that.
Yes, Comey knew. Comey knew.
The literature said about all the hallmarks of.
Wow. Does he seem like an innocent man to you? Does he seem like a man who has nothing to hide? Does he seem like a man who's confident and stands behind his work product when he was director of the CIA? Does he look like a person who isn't terrified of what's going to happen next? I don't know if you caught it or not. We never said it was Russian disinformation. We said it was a Russian influence campaign. Wow. Which it wasn't, by the way. It wasn't either. Watch the finger.
Why when people have on the Hunter Biden? Why? Because and you misrepresented that. We never said it was disinformation. We said it was Russian influence operations, which is what they do. There's a big difference between influence operations. No, you don't know that.
Yes, Comey knew. Comey knew.
The literature said about all hallmarks of.
What a bully. And by the way, I want you to picture yourself as a CIA middle management, maybe even upper management, career intelligence official. And you're being told to put together a work product saying that Trump stole the election, Putin did it for him, and here's the Steele dossier as the perfect example of the evidence that we need. And you know that it's crap. And you're going to go into his office and say, yeah, sir, we can't do this. Take a look at how this guy is. This is at a public setting, and he's behaving like that. Imagine how he was in the privacy of his office there on the 7th floor at Langley when he was in charge of the CIA. The guy is an aggressive, monstrous, violent bully. I could see it right there. This guy, Thomas Special, who's former of that, I mean, he should have taken that finger and snapped it in two. But then he would have been the story. You jab a finger on my chest, pal? But it doesn't make sense. Why is he so concerned? I mean, he knows he's got the FBI in his back pocket and the DOJ and enough U.S. attorneys, and he's got the media. Why should he be worried, right? Why should he be scared? Well, this also happened the day before this letter was put out by Jim Jordan. He's the chairman of the Judiciary Committee in the House. And as you can see in his description on X, John Brennan lied to Congress. And today we referred him to the Department of Justice for criminal prosecution. That's right. The very next day, and he was probably alerted to this the night before, the very next day he was referred to the DOJ for criminal prosecution for perjury. Do you want to know what his lies were? Well, our friend Byron York over the Washington Examiner has sort of put them all together. The Justice Department is evaluating a criminal referral accusing former CIA Director John Brennan of lying to Congress. And the referral, Republican members of the House alleged that Brennan lied to investigators trying to figure out what the nation's intelligence agencies did in the pursuit of President Donald Trump over the Russia collusion matter. The case is a strong one. Started in 2017, congressional Republicans were trying to trace the FBI, CIA, and other agencies' activities in what is known as the Russia hoax. What the memos that we just read were detailing, what the FBI and the CIA and other agencies were doing. See, that's why Admiral Rogers wanted to get all the data and information in front of him before he put his name or his agency's name on it, because he saw what kind of sham this was. And he was projecting ahead of time. He's like, years from now, they're going to come back and they're going to ask people to testify about this. And that's exactly what happened. And Brennan lied under oath. Rogers didn't. And that was the first sniff that there was a conspiracy and a cover-up here. One central focus was the Steele dossier, the collection of false and salacious accusations that Trump conspired with Russia to steal the 2016 election. The dossier, as everyone knows today, was a political oppo research job. It was put together by a former British spy, hired and paid by operatives working on behalf of the Hillary Clinton campaign. As an investigative document, it was 100% BS. Side note, no one ever says this, but it should be said all the time. In the 2016 election, there was a candidate who colluded with Russians to steal the election. It was Hillary Clinton. Through two intermediaries, Russians in Moscow got paid money from the Clinton campaign to lie about Donald Trump. That's literally Russian collusion. Nobody ever talks about that. Nobody ever does. The dossier, as everyone knows, that, of course, did not stop the FBI from embracing it. The Bureau accepted the dossier as a legitimate source. The FBI included material from the dossier in a secret court application to wiretap a former low-level Trump campaign aide named Carter Page, and it even briefly hired the dossier's fabricator, Christopher Steele. Carter Page, Naval Academy graduate, a veteran from the United States Navy, has never been accused of any crime. But James Comey, the FBI, the DOJ, John Brennan, the CIA, they got a secret warrant to wiretap his emails, his phone calls, surveil him, because they said he was an asset of the Russian government. He's never been charged with a crime. They just wanted an excuse to spy on the Trump campaign. And no one's ever apologized to Carter Page. Ever. Anyway, John Brennan, the man you just saw exploding in a white-hot rage with blood spurting out of his eyes almost. He was asked about the Steele dossier under oath to Congress, and he said under oath that they did not use the Steele dossier for the intelligence community assessment. And of course, now we know that he did. It's a pretty open and shut case of perjury. That's why he's freaking out. After the session there at George Mason University, he was spotted, of all places, at the metro station. Yeah, man of the people. John Brennan was taking the train back to his home in D.C. or Northern Virginia or wherever the hell it is. Didn't have a car, didn't even have an Uber. He couldn't get George Mason to, arrange transportation. Well, there he was, all by himself on the platform. And independent journalist Nicholas Balassi caught up to him and just wanted to clear things up. It didn't go well. Again, I ask you, does this look like an innocent man?
So I was just trying to get you to clear it up. If you saw the dossier before the election.
Read my memoir.
I've read excerpts of it. But
Read the rest of it.
Are you concerned about a possible indictment coming from DOJ? What do you think about the situation now? Anything you could say, sir. Just want to clear the record, give you a chance to talk. But did you see it, the Steele dossier, or not? That's pretty much the gist of the situation, right? You have nothing to say, sir, about it?
It's all on the record. It's all in my memoir.
Will you be involved at all in testimony before the Judiciary Committee in the coming weeks? Or coming months? Could you just maybe tell us what you think about the direction of the intelligence community now under Trump?
Yeah. I do like the move of checking his phone. Oh, I think I'm getting a text message. Hang on a second. Yeah, you're in the metro station, sir. The Wi-Fi is not great down there. Maybe I'm calling my Uber now. I got to check the scores on my fantasy football team. What's this move? Sir, did you know about the Steele dossier? Why'd you lie about it? Read my memoir. What, seriously? You know, well, I know what that move is, actually. He's trying to sell his book because he needs the royalties for his legal defense. Read my memoir. He's acting like a guilty man. He's acting like a man who's going to be perp walked. He's acting like a man who is facing indictment. He's acting like a guilty man. It couldn't have happened to a nicer jerk.